Good afternoon, Mridula ma'am.
Good afternoon.
We are just waiting for other panelists to join. We will start the event by 2.
Sure, sure, sure. I'm waiting patiently, quietly.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, Brinda ma'am.
Hello, good afternoon. How are you guys doing?
Yes, ma'am, we are doing good. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Archana ma'am. Good afternoon, Rohit sir. We are just waiting for Anuna sir to join, then we will start the conclave in couple of minutes.
Anunay is not going to be able to join, I think. He's unfortunately had an emergency, so he's not available at the moment. And I just got to know myself, so I thought I'll mention it here. So we can carry on. We don't need to wait for him.
Sure. So, starting with the event, hello everyone. The International Relations Committee from Department of Management Studies, IIT Delhi, is here with the second installment of Paricharcha. Taking the legacy further, we are here with the topic Beyond Travel. Our esteemed panelists have had various experience in this field, and here's a quick description of their journey. Archana ma'am is an award-winning travel blogger who has traveled to over 60 countries. She has over 15 years of marketing experience and regularly speaks at prestigious global conferences like TEDx, WTM, etc. She documents her adventures on her blog travelsearide.com. Brinda ma'am is an avid traveler with a passion for exploring and sharing the charm and beauty of mountains through her pictures and stories. She believes that traveling opens our minds to experiences we can never predict. Her Instagram page has over 664,000 followers. Brizala ma'am, who is also the moderator of today's discussion, has been travel blogging since 2005 through her blog Travel Tales from India and Abroad. Her blog has been featured in BBC and Guardian. She was a professor till 2015 and holds a PhD from IIT Kanpur. She has also worked with many tourism boards and companies. Rohit sir is a foodie, actor, and traveler and has reviewed close to over 1,000 food joints across Maharashtra, including five-star hotels like Renaissance, Marriott, Westin, etc. His Instagram channel, foodie_actor_engineer, is well known and has over 317,000 followers. Sujoy sir is an avid traveler and entrepreneur who has traveled to over 162 countries and aspires to visit 198 by the end of 2023. He, along with his wife, have been recognized as the most internationally traveled couple by Limca Book of Records. I request Mridula ma'am to take over and steer the discussion.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are. Good afternoon.
So let's start talking about travel. And since I know that when we start talking about travel, we find it difficult to stop. Let us also keep in mind that all of us need to speak, rotate the mic, and we have good 2 hours to keep going. But let's be aware that there are more than one of us, and we will rotate our mic amongst ourselves. So let's start. So we'll start with a short. I think the introduction bit is already there. So the first thing that I'll throw open to the floor is let's talk about some of the places that we have been and how did travel became a part of our lifestyles. Sujay sir, shall we start with you?
Sure, ma'am. So some of the unique places I remember visiting is Antarctica. Visited twice. So right in the South Pole with penguins. And so when I started the journey, I was more into it was more like I will be visiting unique places. Today, I have the memories of how I made I was able to visit the place, especially visiting a place where a normal traveler might not prefer to go is Syria, going to Pakistan, being in the war zones, visiting Libya, visiting Somalia, and the experience completely changed. Like while I was visiting Pakistan, I was like, the embassy might not give me the visa. What should I do? Then I thought, let's go. I went to the embassy. I told my story humbly, and the Pakistan embassy, they gave me a 1-day visa, and they fund. I didn't have any sponsor. They gave me the visa. When it was in Syria, I visited the embassy 14 times. Finally, the ambassador said, I am sponsoring you because you need someone in Syria to make it happen. So the journey that happens, Iraq, there is a place Kurdistan. There is no, so Kurdistan doesn't have an embassy in India. So I wrote to the US embassy. Suddenly I got a mail from Indian embassy that Kurdistan US embassy has requested Indian embassy to invite me because they want me to visit. So yeah, the attempt and passion to visit these places made different memories across.
Thank you, sir. How about you, Brinda?
So I got into traveling. So I was, I grew up in a family who's always wanted, like being adventurous, and we always used to go to the mountains. And when I went to college, I had an option of, going to. The college I went to had 2 campuses. One was in Shimla and one was in Noida. And the minute I got to know, the college I wanted to go to has a campus in Shimla, I'm like, okay, I have decided where I want to go. And I solely went to that college just so that I could be on the mountains, I could be on my own, and maybe start to travel properly, without my parents, because you miss so much when you're traveling with your parents as children. And the first time I went, when I traveled, was to this small trek called Triund. Back then it wasn't that popular. Now I think it's like so popular, everyone goes there. And we were actually stuck in a snowstorm. When we reached the top, our tents were torn. We were in a very, very critical situation, and all of us were very scared. And I was a senior and I was traveling with my juniors, so I had like this responsibility of kind of taking care of everyone. And in the morning, when we had to leave, the weather cleared out in front of the Dhauladars, and I still don't have words to express what I felt at that moment when I saw those mountains. And that just, the whole experience just got me addicted to traveling, because you can, I think traveling puts you in circumstances you can never predict. And then while you're traveling to these places, and you discover so much about yourself, and not only about the place you're traveling to, but you see what kind of person you are, and what personality you have, and what you like, what you don't like, the kind of people you like hanging around with. So that's just everything I got addicted to, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to stop now.
Lovely, how lovely. Archana, how about you?
Hey, Mridula. Firstly, thanks a lot. We are meeting after a long, long time. So, Mridula and I go a long time back. I was working in Philippines for Coca-Cola, and Mridula happened to be there on a conference. So and we first time met, I think it was in 2016. Yeah, it was 2016. So yeah, it's a very small world. Okay. So Sujoy, man, kudos to you. You are an amazing traveler. I think Ibn Battuta today. So yeah, hats off to you, what you've been doing. And also Brinda, what you've been doing is amazing. And if you ask about me, so for me, I think I have travel in my DNA, and credit to that goes to my parents, because I come from an army background, and being in army, you always have to pack your bags and go out of after 3 years to different places. So one is definitely that, and my parents were the one who kind of pushed me, that no, go travel. And I've been a solo traveler from the beginning. So whether it was like during my schools, I'm an army school product. So all the trips that used to be organized, or even in the college when I was in the hostel. So every trip, it was my responsibility. And even now, like whenever my friends are going anywhere, they just call up, "Acha, bata kahan jana hai? Tu ye plan kar sakti hai kya?" So I would say that for me, you have air to live. For me, it's travel. Like I love traveling, and I think COVID was probably the only time in our lives when travel was curtailed. Otherwise, I cannot think about my life without traveling. And I have really taken a lot of pains for this. I actually quit my very well-established career to do traveling full time. And now also, I've got into something very different, which is more about sustainability and environment. I'm trying to focus on that. So for me, travel is much, much beyond than just visiting pretty places and tick marking your bucket list. It is something which has brought an inherent change in me as a person. So over to you, Mridula.
Lovely, Archana, lovely. Rohit, what about you?
So for me, travel has been something very dearest to my heart. So till my engineering days, and even I think till the year 2019 or so, I used to just go to my native places maybe once or twice a year with my family. And I used to always dream about traveling places whenever I used to watch travel vlogs. I used to watch pictures of mountain, beaches, and यहाँ travel कर रहे लोग, वहाँ travel कर रहे, we are visiting these places. And I used to be like, when will I get that opportunity? I used to just wait and think about it. Ki someday I might go. And I haven't traveled a lot outside Maharashtra. I have traveled a lot in Maharashtra. I have visited, I think I have covered around 90% of the state now. And it so happened that I started getting these collaborations since I have this Instagram page. And I started getting these travel collaborations about visiting a hotel, a resort, a homestay. But I used to always plan my itinerary this way that if I'm visiting Aurangabad, so I'll be in the hotel for just like 2 to 3 hours, but I'll see to it what are the places around the hotel that I can visit. And I always travel by my car, how far it be. And then I'll make it a point that I'll visit those unexplored places that people haven't visited. And if someone is there from that area, he would just watch my status or story and he would say, yeah, we are staying in this place since like 15, 20 years. But we don't know that these places exist around us. And you coming from somewhere far away and you have covered these places. And that's what travel is for me. It is more about exploring the unexplored.
Lovely, Rohit. So before I talk a little about myself, like a quick question. Sujata, do you have kids?
One child, 5 years old.
Yeah, me too. I am also a mom. And I take a very strong exception when like kids assume that their parents don't travel or they don't like to travel. So I mean, I'll be actually disappointed if my daughter doesn't travel. When she grows up and she decides she is not going to travel, that would be really disappointing for me. But like how I started traveling, I think it's the credit or the blame goes to my family. It was growing up, I was a sports person. I was much more into sports rather than traveling. And sometimes for tournaments and all, we used to travel. But my husband is the one who got me into like trekking, traveling. And then my sister and brother-in-law forced me to blog. They literally did not let me be till I started blogging because they started blogging earlier than me in 2004. So that's how I think I got into travel and first started with my husband, then I started blogging about it. And then yes, opportunities started coming my way. And also since I had started working, sports was taking a back seat. So travel was the one that started filling up the void. Places that I have been to and I find them very fascinating. I think again and again I keep saying that one of the most enriching, challenging trip for me has been trekking up to the Everest Base Camp in Nepal. Not very far away, not very but I mean in some sense, and I did that 10 years earlier. And even now, if somebody asks me, like, what has been your most memorable trip? It is Everest Base Camp. Maybe because every day I used to think, today I will die. The next day I cannot walk. I'm so tired. So, but like when I look back at the views and like that experience of just taking one step after the other, that has somehow like even till now it has remained with me. The other place that I feel I never thought I will visit is Siberia. I went to Siberia on a blogging trip, and I went in July, and it was 30 degrees. There were flowers everywhere, and we stayed in a Novotel. And I mean, if I wanted to, I could happily eat burger every day. This was Krasnoyarsk in Siberia, so the mental image that I had and the place that I ended up, the place actually ended up being like very, very different. So this has been, I think, a little bit about all of us. So moving on, I mean, I think culture is something that we all get to engage with when we visit places. So how do you have experienced different cultures? And how has it help you grow as a person? Yes, Sujay sir.
So let me share a recent experience. What happens with a difference between me and the other panelist is when you get invited, they know that if they are hosting you a hotel, so you are blogging them and they are getting visibility. But I am not into blogging. I don't have Instagram and Twitter page. So now when I went to Libya, I said that I want to visit all countries, and so I want to visit Libya. Now, Libya and Yemen are two countries where you need an NOC from Indian government to enter. Else it's banned due to war zone. Now, there was a Libyan club of tourism. They hosted me. So the purpose I'm saying, they hosted me knowing that that was purely of their welcoming intention, not to get something benefited out of my travel story on them. So when I went to, this is recently 2 months back, Libya. So when you see the real, with the local people, when you eat, there was a table, they said, do you want to sit or you want to eat like us? I said, no, we would like to eat with you, with the rice there, everyone sitting together and eating. Now, when you see that, you go to a local hub, you see that local culture, you embrace that culture. That's a different. First, you become more humble. Someone in a village welcoming you, or someone in a remote place welcoming you, knowing that they will not meet you again. We might not meet second time. There is no benefit that they would get out of me, but they welcome you as a tourist that you are there in their country. The hospitality, I would say, in Middle East, especially as a culture, different. When you go, even Iran, if I say, Iraq. Iran, if you go, it is mandatory. Like I am going with my wife, you need to wear hijab. But you need to respect that culture, and the country is beautiful. Even when the flight enters the domain of Iraq, you need to wear hijab. And trust me, if when you are there, you need to respect that local culture. Africa is a different culture. It's 90% poverty. You cannot flash wealth there or this, because then you become an easy target. But when you are there accepting those local culture, you actually get to enjoy more of the trips rather than just landing at airport, taking a cab to the hotel, eating in the 5-star hotel and taking back. So beyond that, meeting local and local people, the trip goal is not completely done. Even when you are in Antarctica, the rule is you need to give way of right to the penguins. If a penguin is crossing, you need to give the way of right to the penguins. That is the way to enjoy.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, I think for me, I think always whenever I've been to the mountains, I like going to, like remote places that have, I think the culture there is so preserved, and especially for somebody who's coming from the plains, who's studied in like a very popular big school, these experiences are so humbling. So a very recent experience I had was, I stay in Manali now. So with a friend of mine, I went to attend like a local wedding near Manali only. And I mean, I don't know if you know anything about Pahadi weddings, but there is such a big contrast between a wedding that you would see in Delhi and that you would see on the mountain somewhere, and everyone was wearing the same kind of clothes. Everyone was dancing to the same song and doing the same steps. People were joining in, people were moving out, and it was such a sweet environment to be in. There was no pretense, there was only happiness, and it was so beautiful. And honestly, it's a very humbling experience that you get when you're in these circumstances. And yeah, similarly, when you go to these lesser known villages in Lahore, you see so much culture and you see people respecting each other. And I recently attended the Holi festival in Sangla in Kinnor, and it was so beautiful. And Holi is one festival I've never really liked, enjoyed playing, but here it was just about like the culture. Everyone is respecting the culture. There's still a culture there, and this is something you don't see in the plains anymore. I think especially coming from Delhi, I feel like we don't have a culture anymore. There's no like relatability, and there's nothing that's holding us back to, where, we kind of where we come from. This is what I think has gotten me so addicted to the mountains, that there's so much culture, there's so much relatability, there's a sense of belonging. I feel that isn't there present anymore in most places on the plains.
Interesting. So I will just continue with that. So for me, although I'm majorly into adventure, nature, and completely offbeat places, but when you travel, you cannot keep culture outside. Inadvertently you come across culture, and for me it has one thing which has really helped me to discover different kind of cultures is the local drinks. I'm not much into drinking, but what I do is whenever I go to any new country, any new place, I make sure that I try the local drink from there, and I'll just know okay how much I want to have. I'll probably take a smaller sip or something, but the stories which come out after that are amazing. So
Yeah.
I'll just narrate couple of things which happened. So I was in Slovakia, and I was like on the border of Poland and Slovakia, a very small village. It was a village where would be hardly, like 5-6 people, mostly people from Poland, Slovakia, Czech Republic, and different countries, and all these Baltic countries. They would come there for a weekend picnic. It was a very small village, and I'd just gone there for a day tour with couple of my friends. By the way, Slovakia is extremely beautiful, completely offbeat. If you have to go there, please do go there. But don't go there for 2-3 days. That place deserves much more time. Okay, so coming back to the story. So I was in this very small village, and there were like ponies and dogs and whatnot, all kind of animals were coming, and it was amazing. Beautiful day was there. And towards the evening, I was just about to leave, and my local friend who has actually taken me to this place, he said, listen, Archana, there's this like tribe's head over there. If he comes in, firstly try and avoid him if he comes in. I don't know why. Well, no, just listen to me. If he comes in, just try and avoid. Somehow I missed what he was telling me. And this guy comes in. So this guy doesn't know English. I doesn't know the Slovak language. But what was happening was we were just talking through eyes, and there was this local music which was playing, and then he kept on insisting that I drink, and like they had put together a kind of a festival just for me. There were like local people who had called, and they were dancing in their own, they were playing the traditional music and all that. Although rakia, which is the local drink, it's like 40% alcohol. It's not distilled. So the next day I was like completely sloshed. But the experience which I had, till date, it remains one of my favorite experiences. Similarly, I was in Croatia, and I just landed in Croatia. And again, okay, one thing which I do is I always reach out to local people, even if I don't know them. I will try and tell them, hey, listen, I'm coming to your country, and would you please help me explore the place? And most of the time, 99% of the time, locals have always helped, and they have showed me the places or taken me experience the things which no guidebook, no blog, nothing can ever make you do that. What a local person can do that. So I was in Croatia, and so I just landed. So this guy had come to pick me up. So I was going from Slovenia to Croatia. So this guy said, hey, would you mind if we take a small break? I have to pick something from a place. I said, yeah, no problem. We go there. And there's an old gentleman of around, I think 75 or 80 somewhere years of age. He comes in, he said, and this place is very, very beautiful where I go. Like his house was near the waterfall. You must have heard about Plitvice Lake in Croatia. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Very, very beautiful waterfalls among the world. So I go there, and I get to know him, and he invites me to have just one shot of drink. Again, I thought it's going to be just one shot and nothing, and we'll just go away. But one shot, I don't know how many shots it became. And later on, I discovered that this guy is actually the person who has created all the pathways in the Plitvice Lake. And when this park was formed, he played a very crucial role. And, just getting the insight from him. And that next day, this guy took me to the points in the park, which the normal tourists would never get to see or know. So for me, getting to know a culture through local people has always helped me. And I have like tons of stories from all around the world. So maybe some other time. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for listening to me.
Rohit, what about you?
So, the best part about traveling to different places is you get to meet different people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different religions, and everyone has a story. So with my experience, if I'm visiting so and so hotel, the executive chef there would not be from Maharashtra. He may be from Rajasthan. For another hotel, he may be from South. For another hotel, he may be from West Bengal. And they bring their culture to these hotels because, they have it in their own. So they'll bring that to the food. They'll bring that to the staff. And then when you talk to them, you understand that somewhere there are a lot of similarities everywhere. So if I say that we have a dish called popti in Maharashtra, it is called as ubadiyo in Gujarat. The dish is similar, but we make it here with eggs and chicken. In Gujarat, of course, they don't use non-veg. But otherwise, the dish is similar. Everything is put in an earthen pot and it is put inside the ground. And that's how it is made. So the culture has a lot of similarities, but when you talk to the local people, you get to hear the stories, how it started, what was the background. And it is very fascinating and exciting at the same time. So I always make it a point to speak to them, to understand their stories, from what background are they coming. And that's how I always have fun wherever I visit.
For me, I believe, I think when I initially started traveling, I wasn't noticing too much about cultures and all that. But over time, I mean, yeah, you listen, you get to listen to music, you get to. I'm a vegetarian, so I would not say so much about food because I believe a lot of world culture, at least, it has become a lot better, but it's a lot more non-vegetarian. So, but I mean, after a while, I started comparing. Okay, what is it? Do we have anything common across the globe? And the one thing that I find very fascinating is to look at the family dynamics. Family is something that, like, probably we will find all across the globe. So if I'm in Western Europe, I feel it's very difficult to, like, what we have traditionally in our minds as family. You'll not find so many children. You'll not find so many people like what we traditionally, even parents and children together. Go to Middle East and suddenly, like, everywhere there are children and there are families. And sometimes on the surface it may be like, but I mean there are so many things that are common. All parents worry about their kids. All kids feel their parents like they have been restricted them and they have been doing no good. And that's family that I find very fascinating to observe. And like on some of the beaches you sit and like I'm sitting quietly. I'm either sitting with a book and not. I'm just people watching. And it's very, very interesting to see how tolerant they are of kids screaming, or how tolerant they are generally towards the kids. Two strangers talk to each other. So this is something that I find very fascinating to observe wherever I go. Also, if I'm staying in a hotel and I'm at a higher floor, so it's very fascinating to observe whatever traffic or city life you have around you. So once it was very early on in my travels. Once I was in England and like I would generally see a very quiet, laid back, placid kind of atmosphere. And come Friday, suddenly it's like the whole city is having a party. So those kind of things have been very fascinating for me to observe. And I mean, I think I figured out that there are a lot of things that are very similar across cultures. There are very similar that are very similar across cultures. So of course, music, food, infrastructure, the way we speak, the way we interact, and particularly family, the way we interact with our families. All of those have been fascinating stuff for me to watch. So shall we move ahead and look at culture shock? Anyone? So this has vanished from the screen. So let him come back. Till then, if any one of you would like to start with your culture shock. He's back as well. Culture shock is what we were thinking of discussing next. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay, let's. Yeah.
Can I go ahead? If
Yes, of course.
So I think I haven't really been to a place that I've had like a significant culture shock. But I remember when I was in Germany once, and I was staying in this little village called Regensburg. It's just a little before Munich, and this wasn't really a shock, but it was like a difference in culture that I noticed, difference in the work culture actually. I had been working in Dubai, and the Middle Eastern work culture is a little similar to the culture that we see in Asia, and Europeans are on just another level. That is what I've noticed, because in the company I was working with, I used to deal with a lot of European countries as well. So, when I was there, it was like a little village, and it was 4 p.m. on a Friday, and everyone was outdoors, everyone was outside, and it was such a beautiful scene. It was as if it was right out of a movie. There was like a little stream flowing, people were swimming, somebody was singing music, somebody was having a picnic, and while like in these picnics, these people are having wine and cheese and fruit, and it was so like refreshing to see people actually prioritize themselves over work, and actually leave their work and leave their place of work when it is time to just spend time with yourself and with your loved ones, with your friends, with your families. And there was another, actually, one time when I was working in Dubai, and I was managing a shipment that was coming from France, and there was no holiday, there was nothing, no particular time of the year or anything. That was There was a very important shipment that was coming, and in the whole France office, the guy I used to contact was out of office. His boss was out of office. His boss is out of office. The country manager out of office. Europe manager out of office. And there's only two people working in the entire France, in the entire France office. And it was so refreshing to see these people just take breaks in the middle of the day and go for naps. And I love this self prioritization that goes on then, like mostly as far as I've observed in Europe. And yeah, I think this is very similar to a culture shock that I've had in the past.
I would agree to what Brinda had said, that, I would not have the cultural shock, but, certain things which I noticed, which I thought, oh, matlab, hamare culture mein to aisa hota hai, but ye bhi possible, like the other side of the coin, ki, okay, this is also possible. So every country has its own unique quirks and all. So, but two countries going on the eastern side, which I really faced, one was in South Korea. So I was, also the first thing what happened, I get down, I'm in the metro, I'm going there, and I see everyone has got a bandage, and was like, "Ye kya hua hai? Sabka accident kaise ho gaya hai ek saath mein? What's happening?" Like, somebody has a bandage here, somebody has a bandage there. And later on, when I reach, I realized that, it's very common to have plastic surgery in South Korea. Like, almost, I would say 50-60%, or like every teenager or every person that you see will have a plastic surgery. So it's a very, very common thing to have plastic surgery done, and people accept it also. Like, nowadays in India also, people get everywhere, they get plastic surgery, but they hide it. But in South Korea, it was just the opposite, that, people were okay to just, show that I've got a plastic surgery. See, one was that. Second thing was the delivery. I mean, South Korea has got the best delivery in the world. Even if you're sitting, say, on a river bank, and you're just gonna dial and the food is gonna be there. The delivery is mind blowing. Internet is obviously the best there, but these two things which I felt were really good. Other thing which I felt was in Japan. So Japan, two things really touched my heart. Japan is my favorite country. If you ever get a chance, please, please, please go there. There's no country like
On my list for a while, yeah.
Yeah. So what happened in Japan, two things. One is, like, people, I mean, they go out of their way to help you. That, they don't put the bahanas of कि उनको language नहीं आती है आपकी, या उनके पास ingredient नहीं है. They will, no is not acceptable in the Japanese culture. So I just landed in Japan, and I was going to the topmost part of Japan, which is the Hokkaido. Hardly anybody goes there, very remote part, and I'd just gone there. I just landed at the airport, and the machines which were there to take out the tickets at the railway stations, the text was written only in Japanese. And I was like, obviously, I don't know Japanese. What am I supposed to do? I have to go to my hostel, but I don't know how to get there. Like which train? I knew where to go, but which train, I had no idea. So a young boy comes in and he's trying to take out something from the machine. And I turn to him and I say, hey, can you please help me? I need a ticket from this. So this guy looks at me and then he runs. And I'm like, oh God, did I scare the poor guy? What happened to him? Why did he run? And I said, shit, एक लड़का मिला था बड़ी मुश्किल से इस जगह पे, वो भी भाग गया. अब मैं घर कैसे जाऊंगी? मतलब, how will I go? And then after 5-7 minutes, this guy comes in and he brings the TT along with him. And the TT also, he didn't understand so much English, but he could make out that I need a help for the place. And he asked me which place, Tutti Futti English Japanese ke mixture. And I told him where I wanted to go. So he helped me. And what this guy did was, this TT, he actually deputed a guy from his office who came with me because there was a changeover of train which was required. To help me with the changeover, he drew the map for me. I still have that map preserved with me. So the kind of, humility, help with Japanese have, it's mind-blowing. Another thing, and then I'm done for this, was Japan have this onsens. So onsens are like your spas, but so everywhere around the world when you go, you find spas there. But the interesting thing about Japanese spas is that you have to go completely naked, completely. Like in other ones, you at least have your towel or something you have. And first time I go there, I'm like, oh my God, how is it gonna happen? I can't. But the good thing is they have separate, like for female, they're separate, and for male, there is a separate one. And it's like a ritual. So you first need to wash yourself, and then you have to go in a different temperature, then different. And then you have got these onsens, which are both indoors and outdoors. So I had gone there twice. One is in the Sakura time, which is the springtime, and one is in the autumn time. I cannot tell you how gorgeous it was. The mountains with, these fall color leaves, and they were falling, and there was a there was some monkeys also. It was one of the most beautiful sight I ever saw. And then I got so hooked on the spas because it could be very cold outside, and this is like hot water. So every day, whenever next I would book my hotel, I'll first check, does this hotel have an onsen or not? Does this even hostel has an onsen or not? So yeah, Japan is like fabulous, mind-blowing. So yeah, thank you for listening to me.
So one of the cultural shock recently I am back from Jamaica. So even in COVID, I am traveling. I've been to 28 countries in even in COVID time. So Jamaica is known as West Indies, the city of music. So everyone, right from the airport, the cab will drop. You have a loud music everywhere. But now I am a non-drinker and a rare Bengali who's turned vegetarian of late. But I would like to go to a place of music, have a cold drink. In Jamaica, what happened? When you go, everyone is thick, means big black person in music. It's scary. Means I thought it's good place. When you go at 10 o'clock, even 11 o'clock, even the ladies there, they are well built up, well black, and you cannot understand their language. So when you go to that, unless you are in a 5-star, in a local place, it's like, it's very scary. It suddenly means they might be good, but you get scared. Everyone big, black, full volume music and this. So that was, I tried 2-3 places. Then the hotel I was there, I had to ask the guard, please go with me. At least I packed some dinner. So that was one of the things there. I remember in Africa, there is a remote island, Comoros. What happened? Everything is imported. So if you have to even tea, so tea leaves are also expensive. So if you have to drink tea, they have their local plants which they make, and then they do tea. And a few places I remember, especially in South Sudan, Somalia, where Mauritania in Africa, where taking a picture is illegal. So if you are in a cab, Somalia, I remember my wife took a picture and suddenly 25 local people surrounded us that it's illegal to take a picture. Mauritania, you cannot take a camera if you don't have a license. So you, by mistake, if you take a picture, you land up in a big trouble. So we were with local people who saved us. And While in these Iran, Iraq, Middle East, and in these Morocco, this is what happened. Many a time you're traveling, you have been like in Iraq, because an Indian traveling in that war zone is rare. They would catch you, ask your details. Then they would say, are you from the country of Salman Khan? Are you from the country of Shah Rukh Khan? And in their mobile, they would give a Bollywood music. And they don't know Hindi. They don't know to speak Hindi. They don't understand Hindi. But Casablanca, I was their driver. Again, had a Hindi song. I asked, do you know Hindi? No. So they say, you're land from Amitabh Bachchan. So I realized Amitabh Bachchan, Shah Rukh Khan, Salman Khan are one of the so prominent in Middle East and few African countries. So these were few incidences.
Rohit, what about you? Brinda, did you want to say something?
No, I was just saying that's amazing. So Joyce's stories are just incredible.
Yeah. Rohit, you are on mute. Rohit, you are on mute.
Yes, sorry, yes. Yeah, so I'll just second Brinda that the stories from Sujay are just amazing. Feel like just keep listening. And even from Archana, because I myself haven't traveled abroad or, visited other countries than India. So just listening to these experiences, it is so enriching. And like I said, I don't have a...
So sorry to cut you. I was saying I would love to connect the Archana and Sujoy, once this event is over, because man, you guys have such experiences. I don't think we can cover all these in like a 2-hour session.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering like how much time can I keep devoting to the questions that I need
very
to...
different nature of travel. Like I would run away from a hammam spa in Morocco, is something, or this. So before entering, they would say something. So even if I have paid, I would run away from there. I've done it. So, the way we travel is...
Rohit, would you like to?
Yeah, I don't have a cultural shock experience as such. But for me, since being born and brought up in Mumbai, we are, always used to everything is available almost 24 hours. It's like even late night around 10 or 11, you feel like getting something, you're hungry or whatever, just going somewhere. Everything is there. But when we visit those remote areas or villages across, everything just shuts down around 8, 9, and people are off to sleep. And we're like, what is this? I mean, we're not used to seeing everything shut off. There are no lights on the roads. People have just gone to sleep, and we are just used to, taking our bike or car, just go out, have a something small, maybe have a shawarma, just a bite or something. And when we visit such remote places, everything is just shut. People get up early.
Even the pan ki dukaan is closed.
Yeah, nothing is there.
The
Can't even get ice cream. Recently, I was in Dapoli. I had this ice cream craving at around 9:30 after my dinner in my hotel, and I was like, just go and have a vanilla ice cream. Most of the shops had these big ice cream containers, but they did not have ice creams in it. They said no one here has ice cream, so we just have those fridges, but there's no ice cream in the shop. And this is what I have experienced when I visit such remote areas or villages.
I would say culture shock from my early days when I was a PhD student at IIT Kanpur. Those were the days when they would call you for a postdoc interview to the country that you were interviewing in. So I went to Groningen in the Netherlands because I was giving a postdoc interview. So I am happy Skype and all these kind of things were not that prominent then. So I was hosted by the university and I land up in the small town of Groningen and I'm standing at a zebra crossing. And I like have lived all my life in India, and I'm like I'll look everywhere and only then cross the road. That too, wondering from where am I going to get hit. So I'm standing at the zebra crossing, and a fancy car comes and stops a little way, like it stops there. The car, it's an open top. The people sitting in the car look at me. I look at them. You should cross, and they look at me and they're wondering what is this girl up to? Is she trying to commit suicide? So, like, they look at me, I look at them, they look at me, I look at them. Neither are they moving nor am I moving. I had no idea that I was supposed to go first if I am at a zebra crossing and the cars will stop. So like, and then the car guys, like, they did like this at their head and they went away. So later on, when I was walking around with the professors, we were once again at a zebra crossing, and they, like, without looking anywhere, started crossing. So in shock, I also ran after them, and there was a bus who slightly, like, according to them, didn't show enough respect to the pedestrians. Then I was looking at, oh my God, so that's why that car was so confused. I was supposed to cross first. This was like, I was living in India, I never expected this. Similarly, 1999, that was my first trip abroad to Singapore. And it was an academic conference. I was still at IIT Kanpur and I was a PhD student. So when I went to Singapore, I was staying with a friend's sister. So from the same small town that we are, and her sister was living in Singapore. So I was staying with this Indian family. So she took me around, she took me to the Orchid Road, and it was becoming the rush hour. And, like, the only big city experience by then I would have had is Delhi. So and she wants to take this metro, and I'm like, I don't want to face that crowd in the metro during the rush hour. Like, it doesn't feel safe to me. I don't want to be in that crowd. And I'm wondering, I would call her Didi. I'm wondering, I mean, why has she gone mad? Why does she wants to, like, get into this crowd? And when we entered, everyone tiptoed around me. Every boy, every man, every woman around me. I mean, that concept of personal space, that blew my mind. That completely blew my mind. I'll say I have become, like, as I travel more, I think I have, like, there are lesser things that shock me. But these two instances very clearly, they just blew my mind away, that I am supposed to cross on the zebra crossing, and that in a crowded metro I can enter and everyone will, like, respect my personal space. Those are the two things that, like, stand very vividly in my memory even now. Let's move a little ahead, and I still remain at the at the concept of culture. What is something that you feel very lucky to have experienced culturally? But something that you feel you are really lucky because you got to experience it.
I think for me, every time I've, especially in these, like, lesser, known and, like, remote areas in the Himalayas, whenever I've, just been venturing into villages or it's been a little cold and everything, I've always makes me feel so lucky that I'm surrounded by people who are so sweet and who always end up inviting me inside their houses for some tea or for some food, and it's always so refreshing, I think, for me to experience that every time.
Vrinda, I love Spiti. I have been, I think, only thrice, but, like, that's, like, probably
for the 10th time. It has Spiti has my heart.
It has my heart as well. I mean,
Yeah.
anytime if I have to, like, go up to if I have that leisure to take a few days off, I will choose Spiti again and again.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Like, what do you feel is really lucky? You're really lucky to have experienced.
I would say that it's the people, because what happens is every country, every place is unique and beautiful in itself. But, I think a travel becomes a memory when people come over and they help you out. So I feel that I have been really lucky in that department. Like, there have been a lot of instances where I've been mugged, or, like, there have been not so nicer instances as well, being a solo traveler. But the generosity of the people that comes out, like, I was going to Serbia. So I'm a huge tennis fan, especially Novak Djokovic. And, I have traveled around the world to watch his matches, right, from Australia, Dubai, UK, everywhere. And Serbia was very, very important for me because he was born there. His family still lives there. He has his restaurant there. So I was on this 4-month trip of Europe, and I was going to Serbia from Croatia. And it was an overnight train. And I had read a lot of reviews online that, the night train is not good because, see, Serbia is not part of the European Union, and a lot of people illegally, they want to come into Europe through the route of Serbia, Croatia, and then the rest of the country. So a lot of these illegal immigrants, they pass at nights when it's dark and all that. So they don't have any job. They don't have huge money per se. So what they do all these small petty things, that, like, taking money or mugging tourists, and that's what happened with me. Being I somehow got little overconfident that time कि यार इतनी पूरी दुनिया तो घूम रही है अकेले, बचपन से तो घूम रही हूँ, what's a big deal, क्या हो जाएगा, मतलब ठीक है. And I was in this carriage in this night train, and I had not slept the whole time. तो बाद में ऐसा हुआ था कि मुश्किल से मेरा आधा घंटा के लिए नींद लगी होगी. You know, I must have gone off to the sleep, and I was carrying my big bag which I had and my camera bag. So they were there. So my camera bag was just below my feet, and I was lying down. और कोई नहीं था मेरे इसमें जो compartment में था. And next day I wake up, I get down at Belgrade, I take the bus, and आधी नींद में हूँ सुबह के I think 5:30-6 बज रहे थे. And everything was in place. Nothing was out of place. I get into the bus and I had to pay the driver money. So I take out my wallet and there's not a single penny. And I was carrying a lot of cash because some of my friends had given at work with something. And so and there was not a single thing. My mobile was not working because I had come from the Europe to this side and I didn't know anybody in that country. It was a completely unknown country. I had just booked my hotel stay for first 2 nights. Because I usually, that's what I do. I'll just book my 1 or 2 night stay and then I just go by the locals or whatever I feel is a good place to explore. And I just gone there. It's right in the 6:30 morning. The guy is not understanding me. The people on the bus, they don't understand my language. And hua kya? I usually don't cry. And suddenly I'm like crying buckets. Like I've just landed in this country all by myself. और मेरे पास 1 रुपया भी नहीं बचा और मेरा 1.5 महीने का ट्रिप अभी पेंडिंग है. इसके बाद मुझे बल्गेरिया और पता नहीं कहाँ जाना था. And I said, what will I do? I don't know what am I supposed to do. And मेरा एक credit card ही शायद काम कर रहा था, बाकी कुछ काम भी नहीं कर रहा था. So this guy got little scared जो बस में था कि ये क्या हो गया, मतलब ये लड़की क्यों रोने लग गई है. तो he said, no. He refused to take any money. उसे लगा कि कुछ मतलब समझ गया होगा कि उसको बेटा इसकी तो कुछ हालत खराब हो गई. So he dropped me at a point जहाँ पे रास्ता was not the way and Google Map was not working. So I had a terrible day that day. I reached my hotel and the lady at the reception, she wouldn't check in because apparently the check-in time was 3 p.m. and she wouldn't let me. And I was like trying to tell her that, dude, I'm having a meltdown. I have just lost everything. I've got nothing. I don't know what the plan is. मैंने कुछ नहीं plan किया है. She doesn't understand. So there is this girl. She's been watching me for a while. And so she says something in the Serbian language to the lady, and she takes care of my, like she checks me in. And then she asked me, hey, what is your name? Where have you come from? And I told her, I gave her all this spiel and that कि अभी तो मेरा कुछ भी नहीं हुआ है, तो पूरा trip बचा, what will I do? And you know, this girl, what she did, she said, listen, you came here because you wanted to see the country of Djokovic. You came here with a lot of hopes, a lot of aspirations. I don't want you to carry a negative perception about our country. So I will do whatever is possible in my hand to make sure that you have a great trip. And so she reached, apparently she was some guide or something. So she reached out to the tourism board and other people. And for the next 10 days I was in there, they took care of everything that I was going to spend money on. They made the best itinerary possible. Djokovic was playing in US Open that time, so I couldn't meet him, but I met his family. I ate the same dessert which he eats, you know, I had a good time. I bought okay, other thing was, you know, first they realized that कि किसी अगर लड़की को खुश करना है ना, 3 चीजें होती हैं. सबसे पहले तो उसको शॉपिंग करा दो आप थोड़ी सी, कोई स्पा या कोई ट्रीटमेंट दे दो. And you know, like 2-3 things they made me do that. So till date, I think Serbia actually blew my mind away. So I would say मतलब छोटे से सवाल का लंबा सा आंसर जो मैंने दिया वो ये, I feel fortunate that it's the people. 98-99% people are the ones who make a trip memorable. So for me, I think culturally, I try and get to know more about the people there. So yeah, thank you.
So Reza, you'll have a tough time answering this one.
So one thing good about Serbia, Belgrade is, that is nothing I should not advise anyone to try. If you don't have money, travel the public transport. There is a pass. There is no one who comes to check. What happens? Vienna, Switzerland, the checking is frequent. Mind, if you travel 5 times without a ticket, 4th time you would be lucky, 5th time you would get caught. But Serbia, if you ask a
How
local,
do you know?
I was there at morning 5 o'clock, Belgrade. So you need the pass, the €2 pass in that train and bus. So when you ask local person, I asked, where do I get the ticket? He said, no ticket required. So I boarded. I realized that I have boarded it without a ticket, and the ticket was not at that when I was there in the. So then I realized that they have a new system, and at least morning and late evening, if you are traveling, it's a free travel. You shouldn't do that. But when you are there in the morning, you don't have alternative transport, and the counter is not open for you to purchase that. So you can avail that free service.
Yeah, actually,
Only
something
morning is
similar
good.
also happened with me. We were with our friends in, I think, Copenhagen, and so we were taking the train to somewhere, and our friends were just like, "Oh, it's okay. At least we have tickets. It's fine. Nobody checks here." And it was very surprising.
No, their penalty is 200 times.
Yeah.
Even I've been advised doing that. I almost got caught. Life में पहली बार ऐसा हुआ था because मैं जब भी ticket लेती थी कोई check करता ही नहीं था. So this was in Poland. I was with my friend और हमने पिछले 5-6 दिन से ना रोज टिकट लेते थे, कोई भी नहीं चेक कर रहा था. इस दिन क्या हुआ, वो कुछ निकल नहीं रहा था. Something happened. Like we actually wanted to buy a ticket, but nothing happened. So he said, like in his language, he said, "Let's go now. Nothing will happen. We have never got a TT." And that day, as we got in, there was this TT who came in. My God, हमारा stop भी नहीं था. And I was like praying, please, यहाँ पर मत आना, यहाँ तो पोलैंड के ना जेल जानी पड़ेगी, blah blah blah. वो क्या बोलेंगे कि टिकट ना देते हुए पकड़ी गई है. We just got down from there. I was saved. So मैं बिल्कुल recommend नहीं करूँगी. Please, ज़्यादा पैसे नहीं. But
नहीं, सर्बिया इज सुबह 5 बजे आप ट्रैवल कर रहे हो, आप खरीद ही नहीं सकते हो बिकॉज काउंटर इज नॉट ओपन. सो
Happens so many times. This happens so many times that you are at a place and the counter is closed. And if you do not have a pass which carries over for 2-3 days, you don't know then how to travel. Rohit, what about you? What do you feel you are really lucky to have visited?
I think I'm lucky about like the way Archana said, 98% of the time it's the people. And I'm lucky enough that I'm able to meet so many new and different people. And when you visit those remote areas, those typical rural areas, the people are so sweet and so simple. They're not concerned about anything. They don't have these materialistic demands. उनका एक है कि सुबह उठो, अपना काम करो, दिन में 2-3 बार अच्छा खाने मिले और अच्छी नींद मिले. And then we feel we are running behind so many things, and these people are living life actually the way it has to be lived, in a very simple manner. And you get to learn so many things. During lockdown in 2020, I visited this mountain area in Pune. It's called Panshet. So there were these ladies, they were just doing some work. They were carrying these bricks, and the place I was visiting, they told me, these women don't even know what COVID is. उनको पता ही नहीं है कि यहाँ पे दुनिया में ये कोविड वगैरह चल रहा है, पैंडेमिक है. They don't have COVID because they don't go anywhere from here, and they're not concerned. So the life is so simple for them, and you understand that actually life is meant to be very simple. We just complicate it by our own way, and that's what I have been lucky enough to witness this and experience these things, I think.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I would like to add something. Actually, I was giving an example extension to Archana's point. So my experience is something interesting is having more than 25 to 28 times police interrogations. So like US recently I went. So I had a Afghanistan stamp, I had a Sudan stamp, Iran stamp. So so what happens there is once you enter the immigration, if they had to ask further questions, they take you to a different room. The different room again has counter. They ask you basic questions and go. And when it is a red flag like my passport, so they take you to a detention room where a small room or 2 police officers sits just across the table. So the pressure tactic starts. They take your mobile, give it to the forensic department. They take your laptop, give it to the forensic department. Then the question starts, what have you done in graduation? I said, I'm a chemical engineer and MBA. How do I can prove you are a chemical engineer? I said, you give me my laptop, I can show some degree. No, should I ask question from organic chemistry or inorganic chemistry? No, you are a chemical engineer. So I said, sir, it's your choice. I have done equal treatment to both of the subjects, and I don't remember neither, but it's your choice. You can ask anything. So now the 2 hours questioning goes that, what is your opinion about Kashmir? How can you enter Syria? So there is a route from Lebanon, from where I, so this now these questionings, and they are safe, means US, they are professional. Once you have given the answer, they take. But the police questioning, because of the nature of my travel and unusual this, is very different. When it is in US, the question, if they want to ask you, is, I have a simple question, sir, if you don't allow me to enter, who pays for the return flight? Is it the US government will pay, or I have to pay? But that didn't happen. They allowed me to enter. Africa, when you are being questioned, you see one police officer, you know it's $20, you pay and get out. Oh, 4 of them came, so now it's a matter of $80 to $100 you have to pay, then they will let you go. Because Africa is different, it's pure money game. Recently in Suriname also, why do you travel so much? So because of the unusual nature of passports. And the beauty of best interrogations are like in Bolivia, in South America, where the internet is weak, they don't understand English, so they ask in Spanish, and then we end up communicating in sign languages, and internet is weak, so they don't have the translator that they could say in Spanish and you hear in English and this. So this has been means after 28 interrogations, this has been a wonderful experience. 28 countries interrogation I have attended to now, more than I have.
Something to be proud of.
And the one
that blows my mind. That blows my mind.
We need a separate event for Sujoy.
So, and one
Yeah.
special case I remember, and that means how passion make things happen. I was traveling to Mongolia. So the flight was Delhi, South Korea to Mongolia. Now, somehow I got my further visas late, and the next day was the date to travel. I didn't have time to apply for the South Korea transit visa because I had it was a different flight, so I need a transit visa. So I took a old printout. I thought, let's go. And my wife is unaware that I don't have the visa of South Korea. So I went to Air India. As usual, they said you're not allowed to board the flight. I showed them a policy that old policy that if you are transiting via South Korea and you are taking a tour, you can get out. That was not valid no more. They said, no, we see our Titanic system, you're not allowed. I argued, so they took me to the Indian immigration. Now, they said that, okay, your passport doesn't, from your passport, I feel that you must be speaking logic, and they allowed me to board the flight. One thing I know is South Korean people are generous. Either they will deport you, but they won't mishandle you. They would maximally deport you, but they won't mishandle and misbehave with you. So when I reached South Korea, at the counter, I was aware. They saw the passport that I am traveling next day. I don't have visa. They called the borderline police and handed it over. So we were there with the police. There my wife came to know that I don't have. I said, don't worry, you take rest. Let me hand. After doing everything, the police officer said that, look, listen, seeing your passport, you cannot make such a mistake that without visa you have entered South.
Looks like we have lost. So then, let's give it a few seconds. I mean, we are in the middle of such a fascinating story.
Actually, can't wait to hear.
Okay, how he got out of that one.
And this is like doing jugaad while traveling.
Yeah.
Where?
Okay, maybe let me chime in the meanwhile, and we'll move ahead. We'll wait for Sujay to come back while I'm chiming in.
Yeah.
So I would say what I've been really lucky to experience. I would say when we were in Siberia, Krasnoy asked, our hosts organized for us to meet a lot of local people. So some of them were entrepreneurs, some of them were musicians, young people in Siberia. What do they do? What are their aspirations? Because with Siberia, we associate a lot of stereotypes. So they wanted to, via us, they wanted to address that. It's like aspirational. It's what to say. It's like anywhere else in the world.
Mm.
So there is this lady who was then, I believe, 88 or more, and affectionately called Baba Lena. And she started traveling somewhere in her 80s because she says she had the leisure or the money to travel only when she was in her 80s. And she spoke only Russian. So, and there she was. She spoke no English, I speak no Russian. But like to meet her in person, a lot of times as you grow up, you start thinking, यार बहुत late हो गया, मैंने ये miss कर दिया, मैंने वो miss कर दिया, ये पहले कर लिया होता. So, when I met, I told myself, next time, whenever I tell myself that I'm too old for someone, I'm going to remember Baba Lena. She started traveling like when in her 80s. And then she is a she was like, she passed away, unfortunately, a few years back. But she was a celebrity around there. Local newspapers would cover her. Embassies and countries would invite her. So I can't remember, somewhere near France, somebody invited, a dentist invited her, oh, come, I'll do your teeth. So she and how did she came? She became so well known on the internet because some Russian girls were traveling in Vietnam, and they found this granny who spoke no English, nothing, sitting in Vietnam and like having a good time. So that's how like she gradually got fame. And I feel very lucky to have stood with her, shook her hand, she hugged me. When she heard her grandson was there, so she would translate for us. So I would say whenever we feel now we are too old for anything, I mean, we have to remember Baba Lena, who started traveling at 88. That's something I feel I'm really lucky and blessed to have experienced during my travels. I don't think we have Sujay back.
I have some issues. Am I audible?
Oh.
Yeah. So then okay, Sujay, yes, Sujay, we are still waiting for your story to get.
So the border police at South Korea held that they said you are now time, you are going back. So I said, who pays? They said you have to pay. I said no, the policy is if Air India has brought a wrong customer, you can put a penalty of 1.5 lakh to Air India. So they should pay for my ticket. So border police said, no, you have to pay for my ticket. So then I put my last trump card. I said, sir, the policy says if from South Korea I am traveling US, then I can transit. He said, no, you're traveling to Mongolia. I said, no, sir, I'm traveling to US. I'm giving you the US ticket. Just give me 5 minutes. So I was making a false ticket. Means if you hold the ticket, it is valid for 1 hour. They could see, but it's actually a false ticket. So the immigration officer came out to me where I was preparing that false ticket. And he said, Sujoy, I admire your passion. I know you're making a false ticket, but if tomorrow you will be caught while going out because you're not going to US. So I told him, sir, the policy says I can either go directly to US or one stop. So I am going to Mongolia. From Mongolia, I am going to US. The ticket. He also knew that I gave a false ticket.
Yes.
He allowed me to enter the country.
Wow.
Amazing.
Wow.
And the purpose was not to travel like that. The purpose was I didn't have the time to visa. And Mongolia is a expensive place, and I travel with miles. Even like till 25 years, I never took a single flight. I have traveled India in sleeper class, and the whole journey I have gathered is collecting miles. So it was I didn't want it to miss. So this is one of the remembering that border police also knew that I have given a false ticket, and they allowed me to enter.
Amazing. So let's looking at the time, let's move on. I don't think we'll be able to cover everything that these Diptesh, at this point, do the students want to ask a few questions, or do you want to like continue the way we are? If you want for 5 minutes, we can take questions.
Ma'am, you guys can continue. We will take question and answers at the end.
There will be no end. We will just head along. It will be your time to wind up. You can see there will be no end. But okay, let's move ahead. So food. Rohit, we will start with you. What has been your experience with food while you have been traveling?
What has been my experience?
What would you like to tell us about food and cuisines and like how do you experience food? Yeah, I know. I have to come to you.
I can just keep on, talking about it because since being a foodie, so for me, food and travel has always gone hand in hand because when they invite me to places, उनको ऐसा होता है कि भाई हाँ traveling तो ठीक है, but he's a foodie. On the Instagram page, it is all about food. So they'll just bombard me with dishes. So if it is like a breakfast, they'll bring around 20 dishes. If it is a lunch, they'll bring some 40 dishes. And you'll see the pictures on my page. मेरा एक ऐसा बड़ा table होता है जो buffet spread होता है 20 लोग का. Not buffet, a lavish spread of 20 people. I'm alone sitting and there are around 30-40 dishes on the table. And then they are so happy कि sir ये खा के देखो, sir वो खा के देखो, ये ऐसा, ये इधर का है, वो उधर का है. And it is so interesting. You get to try so many things of different cultures, of different cuisines, of different tastes, and everywhere, like I told in the initial phase, that every chef brings something of his own to the table. So if I am at a hotel in Mahabaleshwar, but the chef is from Rajasthan, he has curated this Rajasthani thali for me, so that I try the typical Rajasthani food. If the chef is from Gujarat, he has made this Gujarati thali. If the chef is from South India, he has curated this typical South Indian menu, serving on the banana leaf. And I still traveling only in Maharashtra, I've got to taste cuisines and food dishes from all over India. And now it is not just restricted to India, Asian food restaurants have started coming. There are Korean restaurants. I'm just visiting a restaurant tomorrow. It is Vietnamese, no Sai Gao. So you get to try so many different cuisines, just not traveling somewhere, but just being here. And I think that is the best part about this thing that I'm doing. I think I'll stop here. I will just keep talking and talking. Let others go ahead.
Okay, so I'll start with food. I'm a vegetarian. So, and now still you get a lot of options when you travel around the world, But when I started traveling some like 20 years back, there was no vegetarian. There was no concept of vegetarian only worldwide. And it was like really, really difficult at times. But I'll give you a few examples where eating with the locals, the way they eat, has actually made my experience far more enriched. So this is not a very old incident. Some like I think 4 years back. 4 years back. So I was traveling. I was rather trekking in the mountains of Norway and Sweden. There's a mountain range between both the countries where actually there's no border. So sometime you could be trekking in Norway, sometime you could be trekking in Sweden. And why this trek was interesting was I have been interested a lot in the tribes. And I have actually gone around the world interacting, writing about them. And the Sami are the Europe's only indigenous tribe people. And they are spread in different countries, 3-4 countries. Like they're in Finland, they're in Norway, they're in Sweden, and a part of Russia. They have their own parliament and stuff like that. So I had first come to know about them when I traveled to Finland. In winters, and I was really fascinated by their culture and how their entire life depends upon reindeers, and I wanted to learn more about them. So I was trekking with these Sami people in these mountains of Norway and Sweden, and there were other people also. We had travelers from all around the world, and who were majorly into adventure, and they were not bloggers or like that. They were the people who were either running a travel company or who were a travel consultant, something, and they were all around. So we were trekking, and the one day of the trek was really amazing, which is where we were trekking with a reindeer. So reindeer are actually, they're more like a deer. But to me, the reindeer which we had, he was like a mix between a dog and probably a calf. Like he would run a little bit and then come back, run a little bit, then come back. And the whole journey was like amazing. And they had this great deal of energy in them. And me being a little petite and smallest in the group, he had his own way. Some time, like he would just, pull me, and I would be like, just trying to catch my breath. But so one day we were we had to tent in a tipi. Tipi is their a tent, the local tent which they have been using for hundreds of years that they have been using. So it's they usually sleep in there. They carry their own thing, and we were carrying everything with us. The food, the tent, everything was there. And it had started snowing, and we had just sleeping bags in that. And suddenly the whole landscape changed. So just 1 hour back, it was all sunny, very beautiful, bright summer day. And within, I think, 15 minutes, it was all dark and it was pouring cats and dogs, and it was really cold because, unlike here, it's like freezing temperature. So we were really shivering. And then after half an hour, it was back to normal again. And then we had to make a dinner in the typical Sami way, which is where basically उसमें होता कुछ नहीं, एक बड़ा सा तवा होता है जैसे हमारी पाव भाजी होती है ना. It's their version of pav bhaji, but what they had was we had to collect everything. So all the berries जो हम यहाँ इतना महंगे पैसे में लेते हैं इंडिया में, they had all the forage. So we foraged the berries from the wild. वहां से पूरा berries वगैरह लिया, and जो शायद हम लोगों को घास लगेगा, but they were the herbs. So we collected everything from there. So I'm a vegetarian, so they had carried some potatoes for me, some carrots and some peas and some stuff. And we created that whole thing, you know, how they eat. And for the meat eaters, there were this reindeer meat and all that. And I kept on telling them, you know, the reindeer which was hiking with us, his name was Louis. I said, you know, just imagine you're eating Louis. And I kept giving this guilt trip. I said, you know, see, look at me. I'm only eating from what we collected from the ground. And look at you guys. You are just eating. Just imagine how will Louis feel when you eat him, you know, when you kill him and eat him. I think food was like really, I've really had amazing experiences around the world. And searching for vegetarian food itself has been a journey, especially if you go to countries like Philippines and if you go to remote parts. कुछ नहीं मिलता वहां पर, कॉन्सेप्ट ही नहीं होता है वेजिटेरियन का ना. मतलब they put ground beef into that, they मतलब उनके वेजिटेरियन डिश ही नहीं होता. I tell them remove this. No, not possible. I said तुम्हारे इंग्रेडिएंट कम कर रही हूँ यार, मैं सिर्फ मुझे और कुछ नहीं, मतलब कई बार तो ब्रेड भी नहीं मिलता है. So all I had to do was कि नारियल पानी, pineapple, mangoes, whatever you find, just do with it. Or then later on I started carrying कि breakfast में अगर कुछ आपको कहीं अच्छी जगह है ना, so the veggies which you will get, you know, you carry, you make a sandwich or something. Initially तो हल्दीराम के पैक्स लेके जाती थी, फिर मैंने बोला नहीं यार, कौन इतना वजन ढो के लेके जाए, जो मिल जाए खा लो. So but yeah, food is an important part. And now thankfully there are a lot of vegetarian and vegan options which are available around the world. Earlier it wasn't, but now abhi koi problem nahi.
I can relate to that because I'm also a vegetarian, and like earlier how difficult it was, and thanks to our vegan friends, it is becoming a little easier to be a vegetarian around the world.
So I was a non-vegetarian, now a pure vegetarian and non-drinker. So yes, the journey of searching the food, like I was in Bangui. Bangui is Central African Republic, where average age of a person is 53 years, average life. Now, what happens when you are in Europe? You know, you can try the local street food, they are healthy. In Africa, you cannot try the local street food. You might fall sick and there are hygiene issues. So there, rice and an omelette is sufficient. And even when we go in South Korea's main market, it takes the journey of 20 minutes searching for a vegetarian food is interesting. China, it's difficult for us to explain. So the sign language that goes like this, no means no beef. So then there are a few sign languages that you start communicating with them. So I'm not that foodie for taste point of view, but I have started enjoying that journey of searching the food and finally able to find something like that in this. So this is so same. So and Africa especially means rice and omelette becomes.
Sujay, we will run out of time. Let me go to Brinda.
So
yeah, I know the list of questions, so we'll run out of time. I'm going to now be like quick with all of us. Yeah, Brinda.
So I've been like a foodie. I've always enjoyed eating, you know, food and trying different foods. And I've never been like finicky about food. I'm not like a vegetarian, but I'm trying to be, like, my eventual aim is to become vegan. But when I started traveling in Europe, I was actually glad that I at least eat chicken. So, you know, if there's nothing, I only used to see pork and like beef, and even chicken was used to be so hard to find, and especially when you go into countries like Switzerland and all. So most of the times, you know, just to save on money, you know, eat instead of eating at restaurants, what we used to do is we used to go to grocery stores, buy lots of groceries, get an Airbnb and cook our own food. That's like the best thing to do. And then, you know, you choose what you're eating. There was this one time in Switzerland, I didn't know what veal was. And the hotel we were staying at, it was actually a collaboration. The hotel we were staying at, we were having breakfast, and I saw these sausages and they looked like chicken sausages. So I was like, okay, you know, let me just eat this. And later I was just roaming around the streets and these guys were making hot dogs, and I asked, is this chicken? He said, no, this is veal. And I'm like, oh my God, I did not just eat a baby cow. And I, at to this point, it makes so queasy to think about that, and because I had absolutely no idea that that was veal and what veal was. I thought maybe veal was a bird. And later I got to know it's a baby cow. And I was like, no, I did not just do that. So now I'm very careful in Europe.
For me, the most unique food experience has been there is this lake called Kareri Lake in Himachal Pradesh,
Yeah.
and the Kareri village. So I was staying at a homestay in Kareri village, and you have to walk to that village at least a few years back. I don't know if a road is there now, but you have to walk to that village. There is no transport. So and I'm staying with a local family. So I mean, for those 4 or 5 days that I stayed there, nothing was opened out of a packet. We ate nothing that was opened out of a packet. No biscuits, like no namkeen, nothing. Everything was cooked every time, or like it was local produce. So that has been like, to think that for 4 or 5 days there is nothing from, like, I'm not opening a packet. Well, that was like my most amazing experience of कि पैकेट से कुछ खाया ही नहीं मैंने 4-5 दिन. मतलब then I realized it is possible. ऐसा नहीं है कि किया नहीं जा सकता है kind.
That's I've had similar beautiful experiences everywhere in Himachal, that I don't need packaged food at all. Everything is growing in front of you. You eating that, making sabzis are incredible.
Yeah. So quickly, one question from fashion. Whoever wants to go first. What is the world fashion, or what has inspired you from the fashions that you see across the world?
Can I start with that?
Yes, you can. You can answer.
Okay, so travel changes you a lot. So travel has changed me in a sense, especially traveling to Scandinavia. So Scandinavian countries, they are going a lot towards minimalism, and they're also going towards sustainability. So it was while traveling in Sweden that I came across a lot of these brands. What they were doing, like there's this brand called Nudie Jeans. I know the name sounds like that, but what they do, it's like 99% organic. And they give you a life guarantee when you buy it. That when you buy that jeans, all your alterations, everything, like if your denim gets destroyed, they'll replace it. When you have got bored of the jeans, even after 10 years, 20 years, you can give it back to them. They will either give you a different jeans, and they have stores available all around the world. So I have realized, especially in traveling in Japan and Scandinavia, that buying fast fashion is actually not right for the planet. You kill it. You are killing it. So even though on Instagram we see, all these models, wearing these clothes and, not repeating their clothes, I believe that it's not the clothes, you can always style it in a different manner. And I have to say it, like for the last, I think 3-4 years, I haven't bought a cloth, which I have not required. I'm using the same shoes, I try and take care of them like our fathers or parents used to do now. Like, you buy good quality stuff, but you take good care of it. Who cares what gown or what dress are you wearing in your picture? Just see that, how much damage it does, and the people who are making it, they are not even being paid properly. There's so much harassment going around. So for me, I'm not into fast fashion at all. I'm moving towards sustainability in a big way. I've changed my lifestyle, whether it is, doing away with plastic or, making small changes, even the food, like Mridula was talking about not eating from packets. So I have made sure that, I do not consume any colas, even though I worked on Coca-Cola brand for a long time. But now I don't take colas. I try not to eat biscuits or anything. The only thing which I carry on my treks or on my trips is the dry fruits. So yeah, I'm trying to minimize my carbon footprint and how to make it more sustainable. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, actually, similarly with me also, like obviously we've all come through a phase where, fast fashion brands are the only brands that are available for us to shop from. And especially when the more you travel, the more you learn about your planet, and the more you learn about, how these brands function and how everything functions. I think you become more mindful about things. And I think similarly things are happening with me. Like whenever I usually only like traveling to the mountains. So I just have one set of clothes that I have and that I've bought like 3-4 years back, and I just keep adding to it. Maybe like once a year I'll buy a jacket that I know is going to last me like 4 or 5 years, so I don't repeat. And so even if you go on my Instagram, you'll see I'm just wearing the same clothes that I was wearing, like, when I went to Iceland or when I went to Switzerland, and all those things. So I'm becoming much more mindful about where I'm buying from, what I'm wearing, and what I'm trying to portray to my audience as well.
Gentlemen, what about you?
So for me, means I'm not much into this. You will find 80% of my clothes in simple color. For me, fashion would have 2-3 definitions. Like if I am traveling in an economy class at a 16 hours long flight, the shoe should be loose that I could open it in the flight, and when I have to wear, I can easily wear, even it is not that good looking. You need few old torn clothes, especially if you are traveling Congo, Somalia, war zone, where you have to show yourself as a labor. You cannot be spotted because those places, Equatorial Guinea, people usually don't visit. So if you are visiting those, you cannot have anything this. So that has a few of those places when you are traveling alone or with wife for a safety reason, you have a different old clothes as a fashion. That's it. Else, I'm more into plain set of t-shirt and jeans, and I don't mind the same pictures being repeated time and again across countries.
Rohit, what about you?
I'm not more of a shopping person. I don't like buying too many clothes. Till date, also my mom buys clothes for me. Otherwise, my sister gets it maybe on a birthday or Raksha Bandhan, Bhai Dooj. Where I get clothes during the years. And in the last 4 or 5 years, I have lost a lot of weight. So the clothes I used to have, they got loose. But I then again went to a tailor and did alterations and fitting karali, because I like to, I don't care that, someone says, Are, repeat dikh raha hai. I don't care. I'm okay. I'm comfortable with these clothes. भले 10 post मेरे same कपड़े में जाए तो भी चलेगा. But I don't give a damn about that. So for me, it is more about,
Yeah, and it's really
why
annoying.
care about
I notice also on Instagram, like I get so many messages so many times that Didi kapde change kar lo. I'm like, I'm just like, why?
why
It's not
कपड़े change
required.
करो?
Wow. But Diptesh, you have picked up a set of panelists too. Like ये question तो flop है क्योंकि मैं भी 10 साल से एक ही जैकेट पहनी हूँ, winter jacket, और अब it is falling apart. उसका पूरा down गिर गया है. But I'll add one thing. Like I'm like all my fellow panelists, but I'll add one thing. India का वो handicraft, articraft मेरे को अब attract करता है. Like there is Kutch in Gujarat. So there, if you go, I mean, every village has such unique handicraft. Like there is something called Rogan art, Ajrak. So I have gone to those places where they originally, like Rogan art, एक ही family ने revive किया है. तो उस घर में मैं जाके जमीन पे बैठी हूँ उनके साथ, और वो वही कहते हैं कि एक बार कोई बहुत सीनियर बैंक ऑफिशियल आए, तो उनके पास कैश नहीं था. हमने कहा साहब हमारे पास तो क्रेडिट कार्ड मशीन नहीं है. तो कहते हैं घर के बगल में वो एटीएम लगवा के चले गए बाद में. So that is something that now, if I have to pick up something, I'll pick up one of those things, rather than like other नहीं तो वही 10 साल से मैं भी एक ही जैकेट पहन रही हूँ. दिप्तेश, अब इस पे ज्यादा बात करने का बचा नहीं है. Though I am now in the market for a new jacket because mine is not keeping me warm any longer. So I think I'll skip a lot of things and we'll go to money. It's nice to sit and chat about how much we have traveled and all, but how did we manage it? पैसा कहाँ से आया भाई ये सब करने को?
Yeah, that's always a very important and very popular question that I think as travelers, I think all of us have received from everyone on social media and off social media also, कि कितना पैसा है and everything. But I feel like when I had started traveling, when I just started traveling when I was in college, I used to save up money wherever I could. So I used to take trips that would not cost me more than 3,000 rupees. So I used to go on treks, and I used to go to like small remote villages and take public transport. And then when I got a job, I think for the first year, my only motive was to travel. So I didn't save up any money. I was just buying plane tickets. I was just traveling to one country after another because I was waiting for that moment. Ki, I have money now. I'm going to explore as much as I can. And I think now once I started making money from Instagram, I think we're living in a time where making money is not really difficult. And last year when I felt like, I'm making enough money through traveling and through, working with brands, I can actually do this full time and give in my 100%, to this. And that's where I get my money from now when I'm traveling, these brand associations that I do on Instagram. And a lot of people are still not aware about this, that there's so many ventures and so many things you can do to, earn money even when when you're working, there's so many extra things you can do to earn a little extra money to, for fund that extra trip, or maybe just, go stay in a nicer hotel maybe, or go take an extra trip or something.
For me, the story is quite different. I was a passionate traveler, but being schooling from a city which doesn't have an airport to this, and so initially 5 years I traveled India across majority states, majority places. That was not even sleeper classes, though those were in general classes. And I don't know if the mountain you might relate, when you don't have budget and you go to Leh Ladakh, morning 6 o'clock, because someone will provide hot water 6:37. So the water is so cold that it gets cold burn. From there, so I never took even a domestic flight till the age of 25. I never had a domestic flight. After engineering, I got into job. Just after 3 years, I realized this is not what I want to do. I want to travel the world, but I didn't had money. So there I started my own entrepreneurship venture dealing with miles. That my whole journey story is I am dealing with airline, hotel, credit card, miles. And I also got humbled, means me coming on CNBC and someone dropping me a message that I have miles, I have 2 lakh miles, it will lapse. I got those miles, and from this 8 years venture, I collected a lot of miles. So right from the scratch, doing this funding from my venture. And yes, today also that travel is not that frequent, because I have my home EMIs to pay, car EMIs to pay. After that, what I could manage from this travel venture, 8 years last, I left my entrepreneur corporate life to start my venture. And so both my travel has both staying in a ultra low destination to traveling first class in just 2,000 rupees, business class in just 2,200 rupees with miles. So I have managed to gather this with miles. The most expensive part of travel is managing security in the troublesome places, where I get humbled somewhere. Embassy puts me a bulletproof car, or so the local people, or those places have Indians who are based there for ages, because traveling a troublesome country is the most expensive part. You cannot travel without a bulletproof car. You cannot travel without a proper security, because else that is not safe travel. So there I have been lucky that local people helping me with those securities.
For me, out of the 70 countries now, that I've traveled, 70 plus countries, 50 countries would be completely from my own pocket that I've done. So similar to Brinda, I have not spent much of my money on anything else except for travel. And from the beginning only, when I started traveling, so I would think about the destinations, and Skyscanner actually played a big role. I would look up the cheapest destination, whichever month it may be, and I'll just book my tickets and then just go. So most of my initial travels, whether it was Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, Laos, whatever they were all because of Skyscanner. I will just pick up the destination on the basis of the cheapest flight, and I'll just book there, and then try and stay at little cheaper accommodations like some hostels. And now what I do, I stay with locals. So now I have got friends all around the world. So what happens when you stay with friends, you don't have to pay for your food, you don't have to pay for your lodging. They take care and show you around. So that has taken care of. But initially I saved a lot. I had a good job, and I was based out of India also. So I saved a lot of money on that. And that is where most of my travel was taken care of. For the last 4-5 years, travel has been paying for itself. Until 2020, I was doing phenomenally well. And most of my brands were from Europe. So I had year on year, campaigns with them, wherein they would pay me for the content creation. And for some tourism brands like France Tourism Brand, and even for Switzerland, I became a part of their team, where I was going for their, dealer meets, where I was promoting the destination, because they felt probably how much I know about their destination, I'll be a better person to, educate their partners here in India than they themselves. So that was there. But after COVID, what happened? Suddenly, all the revenue streams which were there, whether it was your website, whether it was your endorsements and all other things, suddenly they just wiped out overnight. And it was a wake-up call at that time also. But now, for the last, I would say, 6 months or 1 year, things have started opening up. So that is there. I have multiple streams. Like I do write, my website also pays me a little bit of money from there. Then Instagram pays me. Then I'm a brand ambassador with a couple of brands. For example, I work with Panasonic Lumix. So in a year, I have certain projects that we work closely with them. And then I pick and choose the projects I want to do. So it's not that I now try and avoid the blogger strip where there are like 5-6 people going on, because I have certain thing going in my head that, okay, this is the story I want to talk about. These are the things. If you go in a group, you are not able to have your
I'm
point.
really sorry. We will run out of time. So I'm moving to Rohit.
Yeah.
Rohit, you are on mute. You have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. Yeah, I was saying that I'll relate a lot with Brinda, since we do a lot of collaborations on Instagram. It is not that difficult to make money now. We do earn money, but I mean, listening to all those experiences, you would feel it, I don't know, weird or till date, I have not sat in a flight. I have never taken a flight. It is one of my biggest dream now to someday, and do that.
Rohit, come to Delhi.
I soon will.
Aajo.
So for me, it is not been about thinking a lot about money. For me, it is ki theek hai, chalo, itna budget hai, I'll do this short trip. But I just want to get out. I just want to do that travel experience. So of course, it is difficult, but it is manageable. I feel that.
If I would add quickly, like I worked full time for 15 years and it was so far away that I was always commuting. I was always on the road. So I never got time to spend my money. So it simply accumulated. So when I quit, I don't have the heart to spend a lot on my travel if I'm not earning. So when I was earning, I didn't have leaves. When I quit my job, I got scared and I invested my money. I invested my money, like I stashed it here, there and everywhere. My husband is still a corporate slave and my daughter plays tennis, which is very expensive to fund. So we are pretty conventional, extremely risk averse, and but you know what I realized along the way, when I quit, I had a chance to visit South America, I had a chance to visit Peru, and all I had to do was pay for my flight. But since that was when I had just quit my job, I got so scared, I said no to that experience, and it was bloody Belmont hotels, like one of the most exclusive, expensive hotel chains, to which I said no to. So I have got over that fear that my money will run out, but I have realized my investments, if I do them wisely, they pay many times over than whatever I have earned from social media. Yeah. So I have a more traditional route to manage my travel and experiences and life. And I'll be very honest upfront. My husband is still a corporate slave. He works, and we see no exit till my daughter is well on her way. Till she has figured out how she is going to be. We I don't think will can say that we are going to quit, or I have quit, but I don't think he can quit. Last one quick question and only one recommendation: a book, a movie, a person, or something that we can recommend to our audience that will further inspire them to travel. A show, one each.
Okay, Into the Wild.
Okay.
If you're a traveler, you need to have had watched that movie.
Okay, or read the book.
Yeah. Yes.
Or read the book. Right. I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
Archana, you are on mute. You'll have to.
7 years in Tibet, both the book as well as the.
And another excellent recommendation.
There is an Italian movie. I saw the Oscar winning, Life is Beautiful. So I say life is traveling because it's not only traveling places, you also travel in the journey. So this is on a Nazi base camp. Life is Beautiful, the Italian movie.
Rohit, what about you?
I think Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, the one I can relate it.
Okay. I'll have a quick word with Diptesh. Diptesh, how is the mess food now?
Sorry, ma'am, I couldn't hear you.
How is the mess food now?
Yes, ma'am, the mess food is not very good.
So, I have
it has always been the hostel food.
I have lived on years and years of mess food, including IIT Kanpur. It killed all my taste buds. In spite of traveling so much, food was never something I got into. But there are two Netflix shows. One is Street Food Latin America, and I watched it in Spanish because, like, when COVID happened, I started doing Spanish because, I mean, what do I do? So I started picking up Spanish. So now, to enhance further my Spanish, I watch shows in Spanish. So one very highly I would. It comes with subtitles. Street Food Latin America, and two, it's goofy, but I really enjoyed Somebody Feed Phil. Both are like, and they revived my taste buds. Like otherwise, like, yeah, you and I, and back then when I was there at IIT, the lesser said the better about the food. So, so like long PhD years of IIT food, and like it took these two special shows for me to get interested in like food again.
You should definitely watch Raja Rasoi or Kahani on Netflix.
I will dig it up. I will dig it up.
Beautiful show for food.
I'll dig it up. So Dipesh, we managed to do it 3 minutes before time. So if you want to open up questions, we are there. If you want to move on to the quiz, the floor is yours now.
Sure, ma'am. Students, if you have any questions, please post it in the chat box and we can ask them to the panelists. Yes, ma'am, we have a question from Pulkit. So the question is, we talked a lot about different places and experience that you got there. I was curious to know how, being a solo traveler, you spend your time during your journey from one place to another, and how it has impacted your travel story.
Can I answer that?
Yeah,
Yes,
Harshana,
ma'am, yeah.
please.
Okay, so since I'm a solo traveler, so what I do during the day, I'm just chatting with a driver or anybody else, and I take a lot of notes. So I have a habit of, earlier I used to write diary, but now I take notes in my mobile phone, because by the time the trip gets over and by the time you come over, you have forgotten the things. And since I'm a writer also, I write for several publications, my own blog, and even the films that you make. So I tend to write each and every small detail and going through it. And sometimes, when I'm writing, I figure out, oh, I need to research a little bit more about this topic. So next day I would go back or, think about it. So I spend my time writing, and I do read a lot also, and also learning new things, whether it's photography or now videos and all that. So I spend my time with.
I've also recently started traveling solo, and I think it is so empowering. Especially, I think being a woman, it is so empowering. And I think with content creation, there's always things to do. And then when you travel solo and you're staying in these homestays or you're staying in hostels, you always end up meeting people and making new friends. So I feel like that's you always find things to do. And like meet people, make new friends, and go out for like a little trek, or maybe go out to the market just for a walk.
I have a very different take. I travel solo to run away from my family. I don't want to see my daughter's demands and face for like 3, 4, 5 days. So I don't want to meet anyone, talk to anyone. I just want me time when I travel. It wasn't always like that, but abhi to now I feel between our tennis practice and tennis matches, for like 4, 5 days I need where like I can happily sit and keep drinking tea. So as you grow, like your priorities change. Why you travel solo? I travel solo to like get away from all of it, to have some time to myself.
One liner, I travel solo for passion. Yeah, first 154 countries was traveling with my wife, where we became one of the most traveled couples. Then in COVID, it was difficult for her to have the uncertainty having, like I had 32 COVID tests in last year. You're hopping country, you need COVID tests. But yeah, and due to the unusual nature of travel, I don't hardly find any companion. So that's it.
I think when you travel solo, you get to learn a lot about yourself. because when you're at home, when you're surrounded with people, you don't get that much time to think about things happening in your life. So when you're alone, there's a different thing going on, and you get to learn a lot about yourself. So that is the thing I think it is very important when you're traveling solo.
I agree.
Thank you so much, all the panelists, for sharing your experiences and imparting so much of knowledge that we have got today about the different countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pulkit.
Thank you.
Ritesh, do you want to take a few more questions, or do you think you want to go to your quiz now?
Yes, ma'am. Looking at the constraint of time, there is one. We can take one last question and move to the quiz then. This question is for Sujoy sir. The question is, how did he leverage flight miles point to its fullest, and how did he begin his journey when the idea first struck him?
So I will quick on this. So when I was exploring on the miles option to see this is the way to travel on a low cost. So how did I begin the journey was, I thought, yes, this is what I want to do. Now it was very difficult, me not connected in a corporate world, to find high level travelers, because now miles transaction, when you are not in a IT platform, you can only do, it's like a HNI wealth management. So I started a company, I gave 40% equity to the then managing director of the corporate where I was working. He connected me to the corporate world. I connected with that. Then I did some fundraising. So that was the business point of view I started. So initial 40% I gave equity only for networking. Then I did fundraising and I got connected to the right people to get the access to the miles. Now, how do I leverage miles to the fullest is a technical question. I will try to be very specific due to shortage of time. Now, for example, you have a credit card. Let me take an example of Citi. I am telling an example live. How do you travel at rupees 480 in business class to US? You have a Citibank Premier Miles, very common credit card. When you earn miles in that, you can convert that miles into various airlines. Now, Citibank Premier Miles and Turkish Airlines are partner. If you have earned 52,500 miles, if you have earned 105,000 miles from Citibank, you transferred it to Turkish Airways. It becomes 52,500 miles. Turkish Airways, there is a fixed charge. They say from India to US, if you are traveling, you can have a business class at 52,500 miles, economy class at 37,500 miles. Now, Turkish Airlines is a part of Star Alliance having 23 airlines. If you take a business class with Turkish Airlines, due to fuel surcharge, the taxes are $364. If you travel business class in Swiss Air, same taxes would be 20,000 rupees approximately. But United Air is also part of Star Alliance. United Airlines, if you take a Delhi US flight, the taxes is $5.6, less than rupees 500, and you take a flatbed business class ticket. So now this is the ecosystem how you have earned in this, taking miles in one platform and using a small and very quick second example. You have taken a flight between Delhi to New York. The miles are 7,200. Now that's in the economy. You have traveled in Air India. Air India says economy has various classes. As a layman, it's a deep discounted class, means S class or E class. If you're traveling in S class, you get 25% of the miles traveled. So if when you have traveled 7,200 miles, you broadly get 1,800 miles earned. Now, same Air India and Lufthansa are partner as Star Alliance. When you have traveled in Air India and you have redeemed the miles in Lufthansa, instead of 1,800, you might get 3,600 miles, because Lufthansa says you get 50% miles when you travel in this partner airline. So sometimes the ecosystem is you have traveled in Air India, you have redeemed in Lufthansa, and further you have collected in Lufthansa and further redeemed it in a different airline. So this is a beautiful ecosystem. And how do you optimize hotel, credit card, and loyalty points? That's beautiful. Now the question would come, how do you earn so much miles in Citibank to get that? There are 10x promotion running that when you book a normal transaction, you get X point. But when you do a transaction in a flight, you get 10x point. HDFC credit card. So what I have done is I have leveraged this ecosystem across hotel, credit card, and points. Same with hotel. I will be just taking 30 seconds. You have 5,000 miles. Today we are in Delhi. Hyatt Gurgaon is a 8,000 or 6,000 property miles. You get it at 5,000 miles. Same 5,000 Hyatt points. Same at 5,000 Hyatt points. A week ago, Hyatt Dehradun has opened. in June, July, the property is 25,000 rupees. You get it at same 5,000 points because they are category 1. Hyatt is category 1 to 7. Category 1 hotels, you get this. So this is how you earn the miles. Or Delhi, Mumbai, you are going. You need 10,000 miles, you save 4,000 rupees. Value of 1 mile you have saved is 40 paisa. If you have used the same miles in the Delhi-Kabul flight, the distance broadly Delhi-Mumbai, Delhi-Kabul is same. Delhi-Kabul is a bit higher. You create 2 rupees value. The same when you travel a Miami to Cuba sector or a Port of Spain sector, you create 7 rupees value of that miles. So this is how we utilize it. Much of technical part.
Thank you, sir.
Fascinating, fascinating.
For such a elaborative answer. Now, well, this brings us to the end of the session. A big thank you to all the panelists. We got to hear some beautiful journeys and some Jugaadi journeys from the panelists, and we have definitely taken some notes through that. Although you told us not to copy some Jugaads, sort of. Great to have you guys here and address us. Attendees may now connect with them through the social media handles that we have shared. Now,